You want to make it a 2.5-minute break, a 3.75-minute break, and like just something interesting. You have to change it. The same thing with parenting. If you just always the same, you become a boring and predictable parent. What is important is for the children to have predictability to behavior, their behavior. But you want to be a fun parent, an interesting parent. There is one thing that we do that we really recommend as soon as your kids can start writing or a little bit older. So we did on a regular basis, we got together and we had our family time. When the kids were little, we read the Bible. When they were little, we read children's Bible, which means 2 sentences, 3 sentences. You don't want to read the normal Bible to little kids because it becomes boring and they associate that the Bible is boring. So every time they'll hear a Bible, it's like, oh, it's gonna be boring. So one of the really good Bibles is from Peretti. What is his name? John Peretti? Frank Peretti has a really good children's Bible. And it has different illustrations that are really fun, even for grown-ups. There's another Bible, the Illustration Bible, Illustrated Bible, that is a really, really good Bible because one of the things that it does is that it talks about the narrative of the Bible, the story of the Bible, and at the end, it says that the narrative of the Bible continues with your life. Because in case you don't know, Christ continues the narrative of him being present in the world, right? He was present before in the Old Testament, he was present in the New Testament, God was present, and he continues to be present through us. So he's writing a new Bible, right? The Old Testament, the New Testament, and we're going to be the revised New Testament, right? Our story continues. Christ is alive and is working through us. So we are writing the same narrative with Christ with our lives. And so that's very, very important. So when our kids were probably older elementary, we started something called journaling. Americans love to do this. They journal. And so Gennady and I, we were not that familiar with journaling, which means just take a notebook and just write what you're thinking, what you're feeling, or your prayers. That's what journaling is. And so one of the things that we did, it came as an idea from our daughter. We were in TJ Maxx, and she found some notebooks, lined notebooks, that had a Bible verse in the front, a really nice picture, and it had a Bible verse. And she's like, oh, can I have one of these for me, for my journaling? I said, okay, you can have one. I thought, I really like them. And there was another one really pretty. I said, oh, I want that for me. Then I look at another one that had the favorite Bible verse from my middle son that will go unnamed. So Mark will not know that he was being named after every little example. And so then I thought, we should have one for every member of the family. So I bought a journaling book for every member of the family. Now, this is how it works. We gave it to everyone. And of course, I told Gennady ahead of time we were going to start doing this new practice in our family. And it's called journaling. At that time, we did it once a week. And so on Friday, we said, kids, we're going to be journaling. We need you to allocate between an hour to an hour and a half, no more than 2 hours for our journaling time, which means you can't answer any text messages. You can't do much. So if you're going to do homework, make sure you finish so you have enough time for our journaling time. Okay. So we start, and they put the date, today's date, whenever that happens. And I'm going to ask them 3 questions. You're going to write the full question. You're going to answer the question, each one, including Gennady, including me. We're going to go around, and then you're going to share your answers. You have permission to skip one question. You cannot answer one question if it's too personal and you don't feel like you want to answer at that particular day. And so we started with very simple things. And so my first 3 questions, I never repeat the questions, by the way. Through all these years, I come out with new questions. And so the first time it was something like, where did you see God acting in your life today? First question. Everybody wrote. My middle son will not go named. I don't like this. This is ridiculous. This is for girls. This is all feeling. I don't want to do this. Mark, I know this is girly. and I know you don't like to talk about feelings, and I'm sorry, but you will have to answer. There's no option. This is family time. We're all involved. Okay. And he will answer like, yes, no, nowhere. Like he was just against this. Doesn't like this feely, touchy thing. Doesn't like it. He's a nastayashi mushin. He's just a macho man. And so I asked, and where do you see God? And then, where do you see that God answered a prayer? Has God answered a prayer to you lately? And then another one is a fun question. One is an educational question, and one is a spiritual question. Not all spiritual. We're not that spiritual. And so we asked these questions, and then we went around. And where do you see God working with you? And our daughter was like, oh, God was so nice. And my friend gave me a hug, and she was so nice. And la, la, la. Mark, where do you see God at work? He was not present at all. We do not correct the answers, ever. It doesn't matter how wrong they are. This is not a time for correction. There will be no telephones, no computers, no distraction. We are looking at each other in the eye and we're all listening and being actively involved in this journaling time. And by then, where do you see God at work? Well, my teacher was so nice and gave me an extra credit because I did all my homework, but I did it earlier, and so she gave me an extra credit, and that was very nice, and I think God just did that for me. Oh, that's nice. So then we go like this, and then we go around, and of course, Mark used his, I skipped the answer to that one. It was not even nothing important, but he had to use the I skip. And then we went around, and then we asked the other question, and then we all answered. And then we changed, we'll go around this way, and then we'll go answering this way. And so the last one, we make sure that Mark was the last one to answer. So we went around, and so Gennady answered, I answered, and then Ana answered, Ana Maria, and then Bogdan answered. And by the time it came to Mark, he had enough ideas because he had heard all our answers. He had answered like a one word. We could see in his notebook, one word. He was so against it. But when it came time to talk, because he picked up the ideas of, like he was reminded of things, then he started talking and talking and talking. And then somebody like, oh yes, and this other thing. And they started this discussion that lasted an hour. And we did not stop them, and we let them talk. And we're like, wow, we just hit a jackpot. We just hit a gem for our family. We discover how to touch our kids in the deep level in a very not threatening way, and they could share and tell. When the kids answer, depending on the question, I will write down what they answered to keep it for me. So next time, another week, I will ask different things. And so then later on, Gennady got involved in the questioning. Later on, we said, okay, you guys ask the questions. So everyone had to choose a question, and they all wanted to choose a question. And later on, when the kids were already older, I remember asking, what is the one characteristic that you took from your parents? So the first question was that you took from your mama, that you like, physical characteristic. I was like, no idea, right? What they're gonna say. Because you saw the pictures. Mark doesn't look at all like his mama. He's like Slavic 100%. Ana Maria is 100% Mexican. She just looks like a Mexican girl. But I don't know what she's gonna say. And Bogdan is like a 50-50. And so I remember Mark says, I am so thankful, Mom, that you gave me your hair. Because Daddy doesn't have much hair. And so I'm just glad I have a lot of hair. I was like, yes. Okay. So I know that my son, when he sees his hair, he thinks of his mama, right? And then we also asked what was the internal gift, characteristic that they took from us, from his mama and from their mama and from their daddy. And man, the things they answer, you make sure, I want to know what my kids are going to answer, And sometimes they write what we answer. Like, my mom said this. Or my mom said that, or my dad said this. It helps you know where your kids are. You have to ask God for this. And my kids, and some friend not long ago says, you need to write a book about this. You need to write the questions. I was like, okay, maybe when I finish my dissertation, that's the first book I should write. Because I have hundreds of questions already. I have one of the sources to come with questions is if you go to the bookstore, Christian bookstore, if you look for questions like icebreakers, if you go to Pinterest, my Pinterest, and you look for icebreakers, there will be questions that you can ask. And so I adapt that to my kids. I adapt it to my women's group, but I also take some from there for my kids. And books on icebreakers will help you. There's one book that's like 101 questions you can give to youth, something like that. Or complete this sentence, and then just the beginning of the sentence. And so I will give them some of those. And it's really, really good. It's one of the amazing things. The kids went to college with their books, and we will do it online still. We'll do, and my kids, because they're my kids. When they behave good, they're my kids. If they don't behave good, they're Gennadi's children. And so my kids will say, hey, we haven't journaled for a long time. We need to journal. So they now ask for it. They need that connection with us. Through miles away, kids are in college. Bagdan is about to finish his senior year. Can you imagine? And he's asking, we need to talk, we need to communicate, because we're able to go into the deep level, into the intimate level. So there's a question, what is more important? And you're gonna raise your hand. Is quality time more important or quantity time? So all of those that think that quantity is more important, raise your hands. All of you that think that quality time is important, quality is more important? It looks like most of you like quality. I'm gonna give you some news, a third alternative. Quality time is very important. In order for you to have quality time, you need to come to a deep level of conversation. If you stay in superficial level of conversation, you will never have quality time. But in order to have quality time, you need time. So it's almost impossible to always have quality without the quantity. Sometimes you're able to go to the quality, but not every single time you're gonna be in the mood to go deep and become vulnerable. So sometimes you need time to warm up. Little by little, we do the first question, the fun question, and then we go to the other, and then we go to the spiritual question, and then we go deep to the emotional question of the kids. And for that, you need time. And so both are important. Yes? As soon as they could start asking, could write sentences, full sentences. So elementary age, I don't know, third grade, fourth grade, we did simple journaling, but the key was to get them used to it, to write down. By the time they were in middle school, we were having some serious, deep journaling. High school, it would just blow your mind with those kids. And we could go 2-3 hours with this journaling, because one will remember this and then something else, and you stay there. Remember, as long as they're talking, you stay there. 1 o'clock in the morning, you stay there. 2 o'clock in the morning, you stay there. Until they say, I need to go to bed. Okay, yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, it's late, you need to go to bed. Sometimes we will be talking, and so we Mexicans have 5 meals. 5 different meals with real food. So sometimes it's 11 p.m., and then we're going with the journaling, and we get hungry. So I'm in the kitchen, we continue the conversations when I'm doing some eggs, some pancakes or something, and we sit down and it's 12 o'clock and we're eating because the conversation keeps going, and now we're hungry again. And so we will do a 6 meal in there, 11 or 12, while we continue to talk. It is those conversations that bring attachment, the looking in the eyes, the talking like this, and that attachment will become the glue that will help you keep that relationship. Where the teenage years come in, that you hear all these people like, oh, teenage years. We don't know what that is. We didn't go through that hard time of teenage years. We had such conversation. It doesn't mean that they didn't rebel. It doesn't mean that the kids were perfect. Believe me, they were not perfect. Gennadi's children were not perfect. But because we had such deep conversation, deep connection, we were able to travel to those waters very easily. Now, I'm going to talk to you, and I'll go ahead and if you can turn on my PowerPoint in here. So just a little bit about the Life Skills Manual. The Life Skills Manual is a manual that some other colleagues and I were involved in writing. This is a manual that we wrote in English and translated to Russian. It has also been translated to Spanish. And it was originally written for pre-graduates of orphanages in Ukraine. At 16, you are considered an adult in Ukraine. At 16, you leave high school, because high school goes to 10th or 11th grade in Ukraine, and you will go to the училище, to the trade school. And so these kids had no skills. Everything was done for them. And so what we decided is to prepare them for independent life. Remember that Gena asked, what are these 2 jobs for you as a parent? And one of them is to just send or pass your values to your children, whether that is Christian and other values. It's not only one. And then the other one has to do with prepare them for independent living. And so I have these 3 books. The big book is for the teacher, explains how to give the lesson. It's 48 lessons, so it's a whole year of lessons for the kids. It talks about different topics, but the little ones, it's for the student. This is the homework. This is the key information for every one of the topics. I am leaving these books in here, and you can ask Nikita. I don't know if we'll leave them in the bookstore or library of the church, so you can borrow them, but you also can take them out from the internet. And in black is the lifeskillsforyou.net and resources. It's in that blackboard in the back. It's actually a whiteboard. And so if you go there, you can find these resources and you can bring them down and use them. They're in Russian. I have to find the link for them in English. We have them available free of charge. We ask that you do not sell this information. This is copyrighted information. And so as one of the authors, I give you permission to use it, to print it and use it. You cannot sell it. It's the only thing. I also put in there my name in Facebook. FB means Facebook. I am under Guillermina Podgayskaya. If you want to be my friend, just ask me to be my friend. I'll let you be my friend. I also put my name in Pinterest, Mina Podgayskaya. You are only allowed to go and see the boards on parenting. Don't go to the exercise one. That's embarrassing. I don't want you to know what it is I'm supposed to be doing to look better. And so there are other ones in there. And then they also you have our email. The main email that I use is podgaysky@juno.com. It's you like Juno. Almost people have never heard of this. Probably most of you have never heard of this. But it's 23 years old. It was as famous as like Yahoo or something. But we have kept it through the years because we have friends that have this email for many, many years. Now, when I want to give this email to the young kids, I'm not going to use Juno. That's embarrassing. So I said, I am minainukraine@gmail.com. But I forget to look at that email. So either of 2, if you want to make sure I look at it, send it to Juno. But if you're going to give my email away to some kids, make sure you give them the Gmail so I don't sound that old. Okay, so the life skills for youth, and I can make this go forward. And Gennady was mentioning one of the biggest fears of children and one of the biggest fears of parents. And one of the biggest fears, right, is that the orientation. What is my life calling? What am I going to do in life? And so one of the greatest need in life is for attachment and for orientation. I talked to you how attachment is formed. Attachment is so incredibly important. I'm expert on attachment. I work on doing camps on how to build attachment to children that have gone through trauma. I don't have time to tell you everything, but how important it is. In the United States, they did a study on all major serial killers. And they discovered that they did not develop attachment when they were babies, when they were little. They had no connection. And because they had no connection, they had no conscience. They could kill and feel absolutely nothing. Why? Because when they cried and they had a need, no one answered to their needs. No one cared for them. So they had no feelings towards other people. So attachment is just crucial for the developmental different aspects of a child. And so they have to have attachment to function, but they also want to know what's orientation. Then our greatest fear is disattachment and disorientation. This is critical for you to think when you're children, when you have youth, and you're too rigid and you're too harsh, that you start disattaching from them, where the kids disattach from you when they don't care what you say, because you have too many rules and little love. So remember that. Attachment is critical for you to influence. What is a life orientation? Life orientation is an ability to engage on the personal, psychological, neurocognitive, motor, physical, moral, spiritual, cultural, socioeconomic, constitutional levels to respond positively to the demands of the world and to assume responsibilities and make the most of life opportunities. If you know your life orientation, if you have not only good IQ, but emotional IQ, you will be able to respond to what the world is giving to you, if you know what is your life orientation. So life orientation, who are you? It has to do with who are you within your family, within your subculture. You're not fully American, you're not fully Russian, you're not fully Ukrainian. Where are you in your surroundings? You're like sort of fully Russian or fully Mexican, but not really, because you're in America and those values don't really fit exactly. Where are you going and how are you going to get there? Because your parents are telling you to go here, but you actually want to go there. And so there is a conflict in there between what you believe and what your church says you should be living. And I'm talking more about your cultural, your subcultural, costumes. And so we have done a study on what are the fear of the children living institutions. This is in Ukraine, the orphans living institution. And so the biggest fear is to leave the orphanage because they don't know what they're going to do when they leave. This does not apply to you guys because most of you stay home until you get married and then you leave home. So you go from home to home. So there's not much fear. This applies to children that leave home because when they go to college somewhere else, not in the same town, it's like, what am I going to do, right? And of course, we try to train our kids and to help them to be ready for independent living. But believe it or not, with all the experience that I have and all the titles that I have and all the years of training that I've had, I happen to forget to train back then on one basic thing. And I didn't know that he was traumatized by this until this November. In November, we did a family get-together, and the kids had talked to me at different times that, I'm hurt because Bagdan did this to me or said this. And then somebody else, Mark did this to me and la, la, la. So I understood that there was like garbage, emotional garbage in our family. I said, okay, we're going to solve this. We're going to have a get-together. We're going to journal, and we're going to deal with this. It's not good to have all this emotional garbage going on. So I'm going to allow and put a safe environment for the kids to take out anything that is bothering emotionally. And here I am thinking, they have their issues, so I'm free. So go ahead, guys. And so we went through everyone. Gennady, do you have any issues with your kids? And who did what that hurt your feelings or said something or didn't do anything, didn't say something? And then we go through each one of the kids. So Bagdan starts and he says, Mom, I'm very mad at you. Me, the almost perfect mother? I said, what do you mean? And he had tears in his eyes by now. You did not prepare me to go to college in America. I have degrees on this. I have books I have written. I spent my life training people how to train children on independent living, and I did not train my kid. And I was heartbroken. I said, what did I do or what did I not do? So my first semester, I went to Kroger. You have Kroger? Food Lion. What is your big grocery store? Raley's. I went to Safeway. And I wanted apples. I don't know what he wanted. Apples. And I spent literally 1 hour looking in the whole store for the scale to put the fruit, to push the button that puts the sticker that says how much I need to pay. Because that's what you do in Ukraine. And I forgot that in America, you just get the fruit and you go to the cashier and she does it for you. And I didn't tell my son. And my son spent literally an hour looking for this scale everywhere. And it was funny, but when he's crying, it was not funny. But I remember, and I told him back then, I told each one of them, I cannot prepare you 100%. There will be situations that I forget or that I didn't think and I myself didn't experience. But I'm going to give you the number of 3 or 4 people that live in America that can help you when I'm not there. Because if I'm in Ukraine, we have 8 hours difference, and if they call, I might be busy and I can't answer the phone. And so finally he remembered that, oh yes, I have some numbers. So my sister is one of them, and I have another friend. So he calls our friend and says, hey, Miss Melissa, this is Bagdan. Like, oh, Bagdan, yes. Of course, I asked my friend that if my son ever calls, to be ready to say, how can I help you? So my friend, remember, how can I help you, Bagdan? I'm looking everywhere in the store, in Riley's or Subway, I cannot find the scale. Which scale? You know, to put the apples, to put the sticker, to know how much I'm supposed to pay. And she almost laughed. Oh, back then, you don't have to do that. You just go to the cashier and they'll do it for you. Oh, okay. That was not hard. And he hangs up. But the anxiety of 1 hour and the tears of trying to be a man. He was 19 years old, or 18, I don't know how, 18 years old, and he cannot know how to buy apples in the store. I mean, that's pretty bad, right? And so I have wounded my son, not willingly, not knowingly. You will wound your children, not knowingly. And you want to make sure that maybe through journaling, if there's something going on that is there, so that I could ask forgiveness. And he forgave me. And then came Mark. When you believe, he also had issues with me. The almost perfect mom. Mom, I'm mad at you. And he said, I don't remember now, or I don't want to remember now. But anyway, so each one of them had issues with me. I'm like, why do you not ask Daddy? He could have teach him how to buy apple. No, they only thought about his mama. Their mama didn't prepare them for independent living. And so what are some of the independent living life skills that your kids need to know? Oh, just few of them. They have to maintain physical and mental health. They have to have communication skills. They have to have presentation skills, good manners, dealing with peer pressure, ability to resist negative peer pressure, assertive skills, self-awareness, healthy self-esteem, emotional intelligence, and so on and so on and so on. The list is huge. And if you're not proactive, and if you do not learn, and if you do not study, you're going to miss some basic ones, some important ones. And so you're going to have to think not just of them being a Christian and knowing about Christ. There is more to life. And when I told you when my kids were little and they cooked for 35 people when they were like in, 4th grade and 6th grade and 7th grade, I was proactive. I knew that when the kids were little, when they were 2 or 3, they need to be helping me cook and wash dishes. And so I put them when they were less than 1 year old, I filled the sink with water. I sat them with diapers in the water. I gave them plastic containers, and they were helping me wash the dishes. I had to wash them afterwards. But because we did it regularly, remember when I told you that each one has a chore, and you cannot do their chore because it's their chore. And no one washes clothes in my house other than Mark. Because when they were little, they learned these skills, and it belonged to them. And only once in a while, we'll play a game, and we all switch our different jobs so that they could learn different skills. And sometimes they were mothers, and they had to cook. And sometimes they were fathers, and they had to work. And these are how we spend the money. And so we gave them the money and we went to the store and said, okay, you have to pay for all the groceries. And at first they're like, oh, we want this and we want that. And they were putting all these things. And when we come to pay, not enough money. Okay, put this back and the popcorn back and the sodas back and because we didn't have enough food to eat. We're going to apply the 20-80 principle. And if you have played sports, you know this principle. Because your coaches will focus on only 20%, they're going to teach you 20%, and you're going to focus on this 20% of skills, and you're going to work on them until you do them with your eyes closed, and you don't have to think about them, and they're part of you. And then you're going to add up another 20%. So if I work with my children to wash dishes and have chores, since they're less than 1 year old, I don't have to worry and force them to do chores when they're in high school. Because that 20% skill of washing dishes, that was part of them, and washing clothes. And when I said, okay, you're washing clothes, that means you're going to put them inside the washing machine. And in his head, he was washing clothes, even though I did everything else. But he knew they were his clothes, and he washes clothes. And so it's automatic, and he does it automatic, and I don't have to argue. There were no arguments about doing chores in their high school years or junior high school years, because the 20-80 principle, they did their chores so regularly that it came in their heads and it was part of them. We prayed before we ate, and it was so ingrained in them that to this day, Baghdad will not eat in college until he prays. And there will be times when he was in middle school, in a Christian school, and he will be sitting down and they will be eating, and there will be kids that are supposed to be Christian and they are cursing big bad words, like really big ones. And my son will not be embarrassed and will say, really? Does your food doesn't taste sour with that kind of mouth? Because his mama said that to him. And he will get up and leave. Or he will say, can you leave? Because my food tastes bad when you use that kind of language around me. Because of the 80-20, because he was so ingrained, because he knew so much how he should behave, that when he came to the teenage years, he didn't have to think, oh, is this appropriate? Or am I going to be embarrassed? Or is this okay? He knew what was okay and what was not okay. And it was just such a part of him that I didn't have to tell him anything. How are skills learned? Very important. So you have the information and you can tell them anything you want. And in the life skills, you have some of that. But then there are examples. And when the child is involved, using their senses in the process, this is the way that it stays and becomes part of them. They're going to have to practice it. And the best way that it stays in is when they have to teach it to someone else. So when Mark practice the 80-20 principle. He did it. I showed him. He looked at me. I got him involved. Then he did it. And then he had to teach the sister and the older brother on how do you wash clothes. You separate the whites. You separate the darks. And then this one can shrink if you put them in the dryer. And you tell all these things. And when he teaches this child, you can catch it. Does he know how to wash clothes or not? So you're going to give them the information. That is not enough. You're going to show them by example. That is not enough. You're going to make them do it. That's almost enough. And when they teach somebody else, you will know if that was enough or not. And so how do we learn the skills? There is the practice, there is the interaction, and there is the learning. The learning is just somebody's telling it to you. It might stick or it might not stick. Identity, these are the different topics that are in the life skills, just for you to know. Oh, why did you stop? There it is. We talk about every single one of these topics. There are different units within those topics. And so this is a safe way to talk about these topics with your kid. Because you are going to say, this Mexican lady told me that I need to be teaching you this. And so we're going to go topic by topic because it builds on each other. You don't jump. You build on each other. And when comes identity, one of the first things they're going to learn is that there is a spiritual sphere in your life that affects every single one of your other spheres. And you're going to learn the plan of salvation in there. God has a purpose for your life. And then you build on that, all these other things. This is about the life skill and what the life skills provides. And I'm going to skip that if I can. I think that is at the end. Oh. What are the challenges on the life skills? These are the same challenges you're going to have. Some of the kids have low self-esteem. We're asking them to do some of the things. This is a way to build their self-esteem. When a child is able to do something and do it well, they feel good about themselves. So if you have a very introvert or a very low self-esteem child, then you're going to have to teach them some skills, because the school is going to, okay, there's some math, and so you have good grades, but nobody else knows about this, right? And so you're going to teach them some skills so that their self-esteem grows. And that comes in learning to do many things at home or in society. And this has to do with trauma and how trauma comes. We have been wounded because our parents have been wounded, and then unless God intervenes, we continue to wound our children. In this sense, I'm telling it to you more as in, if you had parents that were raised under for sure the grandparents under communism that was very rigid, where the child doesn't know anything, when the child is a nuisance, and when the child should not ask but just listen and obey, that causes trauma. Because you're telling that the child absolutely knows nothing, and that is a mistake. Every children knows something, and you can learn from the children. Even Jesus says that, right? Let the children come to me, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, because they know things. At least in the spiritual realm, they connect. They have faith beyond what we have faith. And so how do we heal trauma? Trauma is given through persons, and trauma is healed by persons. And when there is some kind of skill deficiency, then there's misbehavior. Remember, I talked to you about inadequacy, when a teacher is asking something to the child and the child feels that they cannot do this. So I will give you one example. The fourth grade teacher gives this homework to the students in class and says, your homework is to draw a picture about the cavemen. When cavemen existed, they drew pictures in the caves. Do you remember that? And the pictures were like sticks, and then big beasts, and the stick men with like swords or with this like spears to kill the monsters. That's like all kinds of societies have this in their caves. So they went and they did this homework, they turned it in, and my son, that will not go named, doesn't know how to draw, but he is like the leader in the classroom. And he doesn't want to be embarrassed. Like, how can he not draw? Like, he just doesn't know how to draw. So he felt very embarrassed and like, what do I do? So what he did is he drew a big circle and another circle, and it's a pig looking frontwise. And in the body of the pig, he drew bacon. And he wrote down bacon. And then he drew a monster, just an ugly looking monster. And then he drew his little stick man with the sword, or with the spear going like that. And then he put another funny looking thing in the pig. I'm trying to remember what was the other thing, but something funny. So when you look at the picture, it was stick man, there was the beast, or the beast was a pig. So he put in the beast, he put the pig, he wrote down beast. Because he couldn't draw a beast, but he could do a pig. And so when the teacher saw this, the first thing that came to her mind is, aha, you're challenging me, you're trying to be funny, you're misbehaving. So to punish him, he decided to put 0 on the homework, as if he had done nothing. Then he put all of the pictures of all of the students in the hall with their name, so that every student that passed by could see who got good grade and who got a 0. And sure enough, Mark was the only one with a 0. Then there was another girl who had the same homework, but she is an artist. Her mother is an artist. And what she decided to do is she drew a peacock, beautiful peacock, with many colors. And that's what she turned in. And of course, how can you not give an A or 100 to a beautiful peacock? And she put it in the hall. So later on, I see that, Mark has a 0 in his grades. I said, Mark, this is a very sharp kid. Good grades, straight A's. So not possible. My child cannot have a 0. So I said, what's going on? I said, well, you go and you look in the hall and you tell me what you see. I went, I look in the hall, and I see. I said, the homework was to do these pictures that exist in the caves. And when I saw the peacock, I understood that that does not look like the normal pictures, drawings in the caves. That is not what the teacher asked. That student should get a 0 because she did not do what she was asked to do. And my son, well, it's not exactly a beast, but it looked like a beast. It was named as a beast. There were stick people there. The bacon, well, that was an additional bonus that he put. And I don't care what grade you want to give to the child. You do not put a 0. And you do not announce it in the hall for all the school to see it. So that was completely unfair. The task was not to the level that my son had. As a 4th grader or 5th grader, yes, okay, you should be able to ask a 5th grader to draw this. But not for him. It was inadequate. And so I had to go and talk to the teacher, and I said, why exactly did he get a 0? Does this not look like a picture like the one? But do you see, he's just trying to embarrass me, and he's trying to put like his own authority over me, and la, 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 la. I said, have you ever considered that this was really threatening for him? That he doesn't know how to draw? He's like, oh, I didn't think about that. I said, okay, can you give him another homework that has nothing to do with drawing so that he can raise that 0 into a more decent grade? Oh, sure. And she felt so uncomfortable for what she had done. And sure enough, this had happened before, right? So he was embarrassed in front of everyone. Sure enough, the next misbehavior that Mark did was going to be revenge. Because she embarrassed him in front of everyone, not just his class, in front of everyone in the school. So am I going to punish my son for his misbehavior? Nope. She got it coming. I will never tell it to him. I will say, Mark, you got consequences for your misbehavior. You behave bad, you're going to get punishment. Inside of me, I'm like, yes, do it. It was not fair what she did. But I didn't say it to him. Because I will always be in the side of the law. I will always be in the side of the pastor. I will always be in the side of the teacher, even if I think it's wrong. Because I will teach my children that there is authority, and you must obey authority, even if they're unfair. And I will say, yeah, he's not a very good teacher. And my kids can say, she's a great person, but she's a bad teacher. They're able to differentiate, right? The sin and the sinner. She's a good person, but she stinks as a teacher, doesn't know how to teach children. It is part of teaching your children to be emotionally intelligent. Deal with emotions, feel the right thing, and react the right way to what is happening to you. Do I have any questions coming up? Anybody so far with any questions? This can be a question on anything that we have been mentioning. I think there's one more that is coming in. Talking about reaping the consequences for the behavior. If your child forgets the homework at home, you do not take it to them. Sorry, I'm so sad. that was your responsibility, not mine, to stop my day. I don't care if I was taking a nap. I will not stop my day and go take the homework to you. Because they have to reap the consequences for their behavior. If you save them and you save them, they will expect you to save them. And when they do something bad, they're going to call you and try to make you save them as well.
That's question not for me, for sure. Question sounds like this. How to get husband to help with chores or help around chores or help around the house, take responsibility? So that's obviously a question to you.
Okay, how do we get involved, the spouse, with us? There was a comment before, what happens when you're not in the best relationship with your husband? And I said, go to counseling, right? Deal with counseling. Why are you not seeing the same way? And what happens when he's not doing anything? And so there is a homework for you to do that will help you a lot. Oh my goodness, it's so good. It's Tom Gongor. Can you write it down in there? It is, okay. Have you heard of it?
Have you heard about Mark Gangor? Some of you, yes, I see. Mark Gangor, you go on YouTube and he has several videos. He's a pastor, I don't know in which church. Yeah, he's really funny. He explains difference between men's brain, women's brain. Now you probably remember. He has some other videos.
And he talks about the nothing box that men have. What are you thinking? Nothing. It's like, how can a man not think anything? I wake up and literally after we say good morning, my first question to my husband every day for almost 26 years or almost 27, I say, what are you thinking? So I just woke up. Well, yeah, but what were you thinking before you woke up? Don't you like continue? It's like, what? So like, I'm so gifted. So listen, I go to sleep and I dream many dreams, but I have a dream that I remember. And when I wake up, I remember my dream. And I'm literally capable of going to sleep the next day and picking up my dream and say, oh, let me finish this dream. I didn't finish. Like, do I want it to finish good or bad? And so I'm literally able to go back to sleep and continue my dream and finish it how I want it to finish. That's how good I am. And when I wake up, I already have a list of things that I need to do or my husband needs to do. So when I wake up, I immediately have 3 or 4 things that I'm thinking. And it's like, what do you mean you're not thinking on anything? It's like, I just woke up. Why are you wasting time? And start thinking. It's like, okay, you have 5 minutes and then you can tell me what you're thinking. It's like, okay, what are you thinking? I'm thinking I'm supposed to be thinking something. Anyway, so what is his name? Mark Gongor will teach you about the nothing box that men are able to have. This is what they think. They think nothing. And he will explain you for women is a very important thing. But he has another talk about how men give credit to themselves and how women give credit to the spouse. So the man will bring 12 roses and he thinks that the 12 roses are 12 points in his favor. But for women, that is just 1 point. And so there is an incredibly disproportionate way, the way we give points to husbands and the way husbands give points to themselves. So when the husband works and comes home and brings money, provides for the house, he thinks he's been working all day and he has provided for the family and he has done 1,000 points. And therefore he can come home and watch TV and get in his nothing box and look at TV because he has 1,000 points. But for women who have been working all day and then come home and work at home and wash dishes and prepare the food and take care of the kids, we have 1,000 points to ourselves. And our husband has 1 point. He went to work and came back, so he gets 1 point. So we are expecting him to get involved because we are ahead of him. We have 100 or 1,000 points, and he just came in and he has 1. So do you understand that we expect our husbands to do something to get some points? So at the end of the day, the husband thinks he has 100 points because he went to work and he earns good money. And he's ready to be in bed and be all lovey-lovey. When the wife is like, you did nothing but 1 point, and you want to be lovey-lovey. And I'm mad at you. Because not only am I mad because you did nothing, I'm exhausted. And you want me to have energy to be lovey-lovey? Well, you better work with the work that has to be done at least 3 hours before we get to bed, so I'm not exhausted and I can be lovey-lovey. And so he's amazing. It will like revolutionize your understanding of how men give credits for what they do. But for men, it will revolutionize you. And he tells you the secret of doing nothing and getting a lot of points by your wife. You do literally nothing, and you can get points by your wife. And the way to find out is you have to look at the video. Because he's really, really good. He explains it better than me. Any other question? So one of the understandings is understanding that we're a team. We do this together. And for women, men don't listen to this. Women, if you want your husband to help you, you can do this exercise. And you say, okay, honey, you want me to be lovey-lovey with you? You give me a day off from housework, and I'll show you how lovey-lovey I can get. He is going to be so thrilled. He's going to give you so many days off so you can be lovey-lovey with him. And so if you're exhausted, physically exhausted, how in the world can you be all lovey-lovey for a while? You're just like thinking, okay, how much longer? I just want to go to sleep. You cannot be all lovey-lovey when you're exhausted. You need to be rested. Husbands, now you listen to this. Your wife has to be rested to be lovey-lovey because we have no energy. It's just very hard to be actively involved in being lovey-lovey when you have no energy. And the energy can be drained by kids that are just like demanding on you. And there are days when you come that you have work all day. And when your husband comes in, it doesn't look like you did absolutely nothing. But you never stop. But it doesn't show once in a while. It should not happen every day, ladies. Just once in a while. You are just exhausted, but it doesn't show. There's nothing to show that you never stopped. And there should be days when you would be able to say, what did you do? I did everything. And that should be enough for you to understand that she worked and worked, but it doesn't show like she did anything. But she did work. And it means I'm exhausted. And so that's when you come in and say, oh, honey, you did everything today. You need to do nothing anymore. Here's the control. Sit down and watch a movie. What my husband does, because we're very traditional, I'm Mexican, a little bit older than you guys. I'm only 53 and a half years old. And so for us, the role of woman is very marked. So we do the dishes, we do the washing of the clothes, we do the cooking. And so what my husband does is that if he wants me to be lovey-lovey, then he knows I better not be washing dishes and cleaning this and doing that and the laundry and whatever, ironing or whatever. So what he says is like, come, honey. He doesn't call me honey. He said, come, Mina. Let's watch a movie, a romantic movie. I know it's going to be a long night. And so he says, and what about the dishes? Don't worry about the dishes. They'll be waiting for you tomorrow. So he gives me permission not to work, not to be tired, so that we can be lovey-lovey. Maybe that works for you. It works better when he does the dishes, or we do it together. One of the things that really work is like, I'm happy to do the dishes. I don't like to do the dishes alone. I don't want my kids and my husband go and watch TV when I'm in the kitchen working. Okay, that does not sound like fair. You don't have to wash dishes. Just stay here and talk to me. Keep me entertained while I'm washing the dishes. Okay? I love washing dishes. I just don't want to do it alone. And so that works really good for us. Talk to each other. If it's something that is important, you need to tell your spouse, this is something that is important for me. It will help me to feel lovey-lovey with you if you do the dishes for me once in a while. It's different from every family. For our family, I love doing dishes. I like doing dishes. When I go as a guest, I'll do the dishes. I just like doing dishes. But there are times when Gennady does the dishes. I'm like, wow. I like it when you kiss me, and I like it when you hug me, but I really, really like it when you do the dishes.
Have you heard about I expressions? You should know them. Okay, you can write them down. It is a very good way of dealing with each other. It's called I expressions from 4 points. I, because we start with I. Because like when I come home and I see, let's say the dishes are not clean, my first tendency, you again did not wash dishes. Very, very wrong, incorrect. So when I come home and I see the same situation, usually, or the better way is start with I. I. When we tell you, it is accepted or perceived as an attack. You, like with that finger, accusing, condemning, I. So when first is I, second is you tell what you feel. Remember we were talking about feeling? I feel.
And it has to be a feeling.
I feel sad, I feel frustrated, I feel angry, upset, abandoned, rejected, and so on. So I feel, and you name the feeling. And in order to name it, you need to go to the internet and take a list of feelings.
You have your microphone. Does it work or no?
Okay. So you need to go on the internet, look list of feelings, and you will have many lists. So learn some of them and use them in your vocabulary. So I feel, and then when you. This is in the third point, you use that part. When you did not wash dishes. I feel sad when you didn't wash dishes. This accepted or perceived not like an attack, but like my feelings which I feel. Remember, women usually speak with the feelings, men with logic, so use it. Learn her language and speak on that language. So I feel sad, frustrated when you did not wash dishes. And then the fourth part is request to change that behavior or that thing. Can you please wash dishes when I come home? Of course, she will be glad to help me not to feel frustrated, upset, and so on. The same way when she asks me this way, or when we can talk the same way with our older children, it works. It works, and it is very good I expression. I, feelings, situation which causes that feelings, and then request to change behavior, wording, or so on.
And one of the things that happens is if I know that washing dishes is very important, there are other things that are not important for Gennady. It's not a big deal. But washing dishes is a big thing for him. So, of course, when he tells me, I feel sad when I come home and the dishes are there, okay, that becomes a priority. Praise God, I like to wash dishes. And now that I know it's a priority for him, when he comes, the dishes are done. Always. The difference is in the nighttime when I don't want to do the dishes and I can say, oh, I really don't want to do dishes today. It's okay. They're not going anywhere. They'll be waiting for you in the morning. So I have permission to not, he's not going to get sad because he gave me permission not to do the dishes. Or he can say, no big deal, I'll do the dishes today. So it's not like I always have to do the dishes. He wants me to make me happy, he'll do the dishes. There are times when he knows, and this is important, you know each other's schedule. There are times when I work very hard, I'm not home, I'm teaching, training. I come home late at 8 p.m. Of course, I didn't have time to do dinner. There are times when I prepare ahead and I can do it, but there are times when I cannot. He will have dinner waiting for us because he understands this is his role. He steps in. I have been working and I have not been home. And if the kids are hungry, he's not going to give them just a peanut butter and jelly sandwich because my kids do not consider that food. I have trained them well. Gennady sometimes takes them out to eat, and so they're happy if I'm not home. And so, but he knows that he has to step in our team, and he has to help, not only to wash the dishes. It could be that he asks the kids to wash the dishes. That's also a possibility, you know. And so you have to be able to know each other's schedule. If your husband is working very hard and he comes in and he's exhausted, he's not going to want to wash dishes, I promise you. And remember that emotional exhaustion sometimes is more tiring than physical exhaustion. So don't think that because he's not working physical, he's not going to get tired. And the last thing is, we have some pictures of our family in this table. You are welcome to take one if you want. In the back of the picture, there is a link. And in the link, it tells you the different ministries that we do in Ukraine. And it also tells you how you can support our ministries if you feel led to do so. And we are open to questions and help you if you have a particular issue. Now, like later on in the future, if you have an issue, if you have a question, we can try to help you. You can write in Russian or in English. En preguntas, si tienen preguntas, and we can help you. We cannot keep you, we will not promise to keep you counseling in the long term. We will guide you to someone locally so that you can get counseling. For a question here and there, if you have a particular situation with parenting, like, we'll be glad to help you if you have a question in the future. Okay?
Дорогой Господь, мы приходим к Тебе в этот день, и мы благодарим Тебя за хорошо проведенный день. Я верю, что Ты сегодня был здесь, Господь, Ты говорил к нам, говорил к нашим сердцам, Ты менял наши сердца. Господь, вот это все знание, понимание, все это информация, навыки, все то, что мы говорили, Господь, мы верим, что Ты дал это нам прожить, испытать у нас, в нашей семье, для того, чтобы мы могли делиться этим. Ты благословил нас, чтобы мы были благословением. И сейчас я прошу, Господь, чтобы Ты взял эту информацию, которая была посеяна в сердца моих братьев и сестер, чтобы Ты взял эти семена, и чтобы они могли расти, возрастать, чтобы у них были крепкие семьи, чтобы у них были прекрасные дети, которые знают Тебя, которые послушны Тебе, родителям, и которые, в свою очередь, могут передать это дальше. Я благословляю их и прошу, чтобы Твоя рука, Твое благословение, Твоя охрана, защита, обеспечение было над каждым из них. Благослови их детей, их родственников, и когда они будут делиться этим, чтобы Твой Дух Святой руководил и подавал им руку помощи, когда нужно будет, когда они будут, может быть, в трудностях, в непонимании, в конфликтах, чтобы Дух Святой, Ты был рядом с ними, и Ты помогал им проходить через эти моменты, и чтобы была вся слава Тебе. Благословляю их, благословляю эту церковь, каждого человека, который приходит сюда и выходит из этого места. И пусть Твой Дух Святой будет с нами, наблюдает нас, когда мы удалимся с этого места и поедем в наше место, где Ты приготовил для нас служение. Спасибо Тебе, Господь. Благодарим Тебя, славим. Во имя Иисуса Христа я молился. Аминь.